Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Ram Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashotara Shata Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ram Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashotara Shata Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Primsko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavandam Ki Jai Navadi Dham Ki Jai, Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, all glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnavatale Shrimati Namo Swami Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnavatale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gautamani Vicharine Nirvishesha Shunyavare Pichata Dushitarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Jagata samsari. So Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, and we're studying the second verse. This chapter is entitled The First Step in God Realization. From the word for word, Shrotavya Adini Rajendra Nrinam Santi, or pardon me, Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedinam Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nrenam Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedinam Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedinam Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedinam.
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha
Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha
Apashyatam Atma Tattvam
Apashyatam Atmatattvam
Griheshu Grihamedinam
Griheshu Grihamedinam
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Nirnam Santi Sahasrashaha
Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha
Apashyatam Atmatattvam
Apashyatam Atmatattvam
Griheshu Grihamedinam
Griheshu Grihamedinam. Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha
Tattvam
Apashyatam Atmatattvam
Yeshu Grihamedinam
Griheshu Grihamedinam.
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha
Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha
Apashyatam Atmatattvam
Apashyatam Atmatattvam
Griheshu Grihamedinam
Griheshu Grihamedinam.
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Nirnam Santi Sahasrashaha
Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha
Apyasantam Atma Tattvam
Apashyatam Atmatattvam
Griheshu Grihamedinam
Griheshu Grihamedinam.
Srotavyadini Rajendra
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Nirnam Santi Sahasrasaha
Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha
Apasyatam Atma Tattvam
Apashyatam Atma Tatpang
Griheshu Grihamedinam
Griheshu Grihamedinam
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Shrotavyadini Rajendra
Nirnam Santi Sahasrashaha
Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha
Pashyatam Atma Tattvam
Pashyatam Atma Tattvam
Griheshu Grihamedinam.
Griheshu Grihamedinam. Any chanters online? Okay. Shrotavya Adini. Subject matters for hearing. Rajendra, O Emperor, Nrinam of human society. Santi, there are. Sahasrashaha, hundreds and thousands. Apashyatam, of the blind. Atma Tattvam, knowledge of self, the ultimate truth. Griheshu, at home. Grihamedinam, of persons too materially engrossed. Translation. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. Purport. In the revealed scriptures, there are two nomenclatures for the householder's life. One is Grihastha, and the other is Grihamedhi. The Grihasthas are those who live together with wife and children, but live transcendentally for realizing the ultimate truth. The Grihamedhis, however, are those who live only for the benefit of the family members, extended or centralized, and thus are envious of others. The word Medhi indicates jealousy of others. The Grihamedhis, being interested in family affairs only, are certainly envious of others. Therefore, one Grihamedhi is not on good terms with another Grihamedhi. And in the extended form, one community, society, or nation is not on good terms with another counterpart of selfish interest. In the age of Kali, all the householders are jealous of one another because they are blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth. They have many subject matters for hearing, political, scientific, social, economic, and so on. But due to a poor fund of knowledge, they set aside the question of the ultimate miseries of life, namely miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Factually, the human society is meant for making an ultimate solution to birth, death, old age, and disease. But the Grihamedhis, being illusioned by the material nature, forget everything about self-realization. The ultimate solution to the problems of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. And thus, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 8.16, the miseries of material existence, birth, death, old age, and disease are removed. The process of going back home, back to Godhead, is to hear about the Supreme Lord and His name, form, attributes, pastimes, paraphernalia, and variegatedness. Foolish people do not know this. They want to hear something about the name, form, etc., and of everything temporary, and they do not know how to utilize this propensity of hearing for the ultimate good. Misguided as they are, they also create some false literatures about the name, form, attributes, etc., of the ultimate truth. One should not therefore become a grihamedhi simply to exist for envying others. One should become a real householder in terms of the scriptural injunctions. Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nrinam Santi Sahasrashah Apashyatam Atma Tattvang Griheshu Grihamedinam. Translation. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. So devotees, kindly pardon me for any offenses or any inappropriateness or unnecessary sharing of my opinions. So please forgive me for any offenses. And so this verse is speaking about persons who are interested in hearing things which don't have to do with the soul. So Atma Tattvam means the knowledge of self, and that means the ultimate truth. So there may be some relative truths which may hold up in certain circumstances and in certain arrangements, but the ultimate truth is considering the eternality of the soul. And the eternality of the soul, or we can understand that the soul is eternal because the soul, or the minute living entity, each one of us, we are part and parcel of the eternal supreme living entity who is Krishna. So there's a verse, Chaitanas Chaitananam, or I think it is Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Bahu Eka Bahu Koti Vididhati Kaman, something like this, that we are ourselves coming from the eternal person, and we are eternal because that person is eternal. From one singular eternal person is coming the plural persons, which are also eternal, Nityo Nityanam. And similarly, we are conscious because we are coming from the supreme conscious being, and that person is satisfying all the desires of the unlimited living entities from time immemorial. And we have a business to perform in this life, which is to revive our dormant divine consciousness, which is intrinsically engaged in a relationship with that supreme person who is the source of everyone and everything. And it's stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. So we have received this human form of life, and we can use the facilities or faculties of this heightened intelligence to enjoy sense gratification, or we can use the faculties of this human life to become seers of the truth. So this word blind is used often in the Vedic literature, that the blind leading the blind. So persons who are without knowledge of the self are in charge of society, leading persons who also have no idea about the self. And this is the society of Grihamedis, that one person who has some karmic results coming his direction, he may have some relative power and fame or position within society, and that person uses that position or society, that good karma, to actually become re-entangled in the cycle of birth and death yet again. And such a person also doesn't do good, or doesn't do to his subordinates. And this is unfortunate. It's stated that one should not become a guru or teacher or king or mother, father, unless one can deliver their dependents from the cycle of birth and death. And Prabhupada is explaining that if we want to stop the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, which are incumbent factors which come along with the material world, they're paired. You can't have a material life without birth, death, old age, and disease, unless you revive your eternal spiritual life. This movement is for making everyone happy, and this movement is for making everyone eternal. That's what this movement is. Because we're sharing knowledge of the soul. And when one revives their dormant consciousness, which is actually Krishna consciousness, then one never returns to this material world. It's stated many times in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada mentioned here that this 8.16, but there are other verses too, like I know one which is 4.9 from the Gita, that Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvataha taktva deham punar janma naiti mam eti swarjuna, that you don't have to come back to this punar janma, repeated birth, again birth. Naiti mam eti swarjuna, you will surely come to me. So that's stated that when we know Krishna's pastimes, when we know the ultimate truth, then we can actually not come back here. Now, to know Krishna's pastimes and activities as transcendental, first we have to understand what is transcendental. What does transcendental mean? We have no experience of transcendental. So first step in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes what is transcendental. Transcendental is different from temporary. That you as a soul, you never die. And Krishna uses this argument to convince Arjuna to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 18, Krishna describes Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharinanaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yudyasva bharata, that you are actually eternal living entity. You don't die. You're different from the body, which is temporary. Only the temporary body of the eternal living entity is subject to destruction. Therefore fight, O son of Bharata. So he gives the contrast. What is eternal and what is temporary? And this is the main science which should be learned and inquired about by the human society, that we have a propensity to hear. It's stated in one of the nice purports from Canto 1 that hearing and chanting, glorifying, and remembering, these are basic principles of human life. Everybody is doing these things. Everybody is hearing about some person. Everybody is speaking about some person. Everybody is remembering some person. And this forms the basis of our activities and our interactions. I was actually thinking that, unfortunately, some thought bubbled up while I was chanting my japa, and it was some mundane social scene that I was a part of. Some evening, there was some mundane gathering, and I was thinking, what were we trying to do there? What was the whole thing? There's no point. Sex, that's it. We're all just there, kind of feeling out this little tingle that we're getting, you know? Oh, maybe over here, about that. Oh, I better drink another one of these, mix up the pot a little bit, or I better do like that. It's totally bogus. Totally bogus way of life. What are we doing? We're young people literally peeing out our life force. That's kind of vulgar, so pardon me. But this is what we're doing. We're taking intoxicants, killing our brain cells, and what is our result? Oh, I just have to pass some water. This is the whole thing. What are we saying? We're just talking complete nonsense. It doesn't matter. And we know that too. Oh, I'll just talk to this, I'll just share this nonsense, or I'll hear this nonsense from this person just so I can get one step closer to gratifying my senses. So this is all envy, actually. And what we can understand is that this is the Grihamedi lifestyle. We should meet together and we should discuss Krishna conscious subject matter. Every vibration from our tongue should directly remind ourselves and others of Krishna's supreme position as the ultimate absolute truth. Why not? Every vibration from my tongue should be leading towards that conclusion. If we're engaging in prajalpa, we won't actually be able to sit and beg Krishna to give us his mercy when we chant the holy names. It's not going to be possible. We have to practice servant of the servant. So Grihasta is a very nice servant, not only of his family, but of everyone. Because the Grihasta is serving Krishna. When we water the root of the tree, all the leaves and branches are nourished. The Grihasta is creating a small team of preachers. That team, don't want to mess with that team. Everywhere that team goes, they're disseminating Krishna consciousness, either subtly or directly. The Grihasta is a very important part of our movement because, as Prabhupada was mentioning, it is a very nice thing to bring a Krishna conscious child. And we need so many of such children who know the value of life and are ready to share it with others unrestrictedly. This is very important, and we can see actually that such families, such sanctified homes are very inspiring, not only to other family members, other families, but to the renounced order as well. How renounced does one have to be to fast with the fridge door open and seeing all the nice prasadam? Well, I could heat up that lasagna. That was offered. That's a prasad, right? Or my friend brought me this nice maha from Radhagiri. What is it? The maha cheesecake prasad. Yeah, I could eat that. So when one is restricting the senses while in the presence of the sense objects, that's very exalted, and that shows a very high level of renunciation. Very high level of renunciation. What is that renunciation? Real renunciation means higher taste. So these grihastas have a higher taste. They don't hear nonsense. They only hear Krishna Katha. And for hours on end they hear. They don't mind. They don't have any other business. Let us hear Krishna Katha. Let us speak about Krishna. Let us chant Hare Krishna. So these are persons. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that, maybe it wasn't Bhaktivinoda Thakur. One of our acharyas has described that I don't care who it is. As long as they're a perfect devotee of Lord Chaitanya, I want their association. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, so we have to kick out this envy by getting a higher taste, serving Krishna, becoming purified. Main process is shruti. We have to hear from the authorities. So we continually hear, apply that medicine, and the heart becomes pure. Then our taste will arise, and the real taste of the soul, and we will progress in devotional service to the highest perfection of pure love for Krishna. Thank you so much. Maybe devotees can share some things. Bhakta Avatar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I have a question.
Yes.
I was just thinking that it's pretty much, not necessarily, but it's safe to say that all of us here, somebody at least might end up going to the Grihastha ashram, and then you were saying we need to have Krishna conscious children and like a strong preaching team. So how does one get a Krishna conscious child? Is it just, is there anything I need to do? Or is I think it's nice we should talk about these things so we're prepared if it does happen for us. So I'm wondering then, if that were to happen, is there something that needs to be done, or just I scratch the itch and then there it is, and then boom, Krishna conscious child? Or is there preparations, I'm just curious. Maybe you have some things to think about that.
Well, that term, scratch the itch, that won't lead to a Krishna conscious child. You will have to be very deliberate if you want to have a Krishna conscious child. Very deliberate. And if one wants to walk that path, in one sense, they have to become more strong. They have to become stronger than they were in the renounced order. Because the temptation will be available, So Prabhupada described very simply, Garbhadan Samskara. That is the process by which one receives a soul in the womb who is favorably disposed to God. And if one wants to perform Garbhadan Samskara, then those details have been given. We have to, as we heard this morning from Srila Prabhupada, sex is not meant for material enjoyment. It's not meant for sense gratification. It's not a sense enjoyment. It's actually a very big tapasya. Right? That's a tapasya. You have to regulate yourself. You have to chant 50 rounds, both partners, on a certain schedule. And your consciousness has to be very fixed on your mission, and it has to be all about service. If we have a tendency for enjoying there in the mind, then that will be reflected in the child. And so the purpose of the Garbhadan Samskara is to fix one up in the service attitude. And then that consciousness of that couple will call a very advanced soul. That soul may just be ready to, basically they will help each other, Such a Krishna conscious child can be very inspiring for the parents to get serious about their own spiritual life too. But that's the process Prabhupada describes, Garbhadan Samskar. The details are given.
Do you know the details?
Yeah, there's a certain menstrual cycle after I think it was mentioned 5 days after the menstrual cycle, then one can do, plan for the Garbhadan Samskara. Then both pairs or the couple must chant 50 rounds Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and then they will actually engage in sex and in union, and then then after that there are also other samskaras too for the child, but that's the main process in our movement. It shouldn't happen more than once in a month. And so it's not a scratch of an itch, it's the next purificatory service. Like if there's a couple, they may have that desire for sense gratification, but they're doing it in a sanctioned way, in a sanctified way, and then a regulated way. And if you can notice, like, you may get an itch, you just go for it, right? But if you see it there, you don't have to itch it, but it takes a little bit of consciousness. Like you're consciously aware, I'm itching, but I'm playing the kartals. So if I try to itch, then I'll stop playing. But if you wait, it'll go away. But in one sense, the Grihastha ashram and having Krishna conscious children is a concession for engaging in sex life. But because it's all been, because it's sanctioned, sanctified, and regulated, it's not the same as any mundane activity. It becomes spiritual. And in that way, it's not of the same quality. Was that okay, KB Prabhu? Yes, Prabhu.
Just add something real quick that it's ideal to get the blessings of the seniors, so one can be in consultation with senior grihastas. And also some devotees get the blessings of their spiritual master as well.
to have a Krishna conscious child. So that's nice also, but definitely being counseled by senior grihastas would be the route to go. Right. So we definitely have to hear as much as possible. It's a razor's edge in spiritual life. And when we hear then from the devotees and the seniors and the authorized authorities, then we can play on the safe side. So, thank you, devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All